Hey guys, this is Michael here. This is going to be another tutorial on exploring the depth of containers. And yeah, I'll dive straight in. So basically off the start, usually what I do is come into my theme settings, make sure I have my theme settings turned on to which one I'm working with. Set the conditions so it's to the page that you're using. You can set it to your full site, but because I've got multiple different themes going on here, I've preset it. And then under general, I've set my background to a very light, kind of like white here. So it's just off white and you'll see why. And then I've set my container to 100%. So I'm going to dive in. I'm going to insert a container. So we've got our main container here and we don't really need to do anything. We're going to set another one in. So we've got our blue container now. We're going to jump over to our blue container style tab here. We're going to set this to 1200. We're going to come over to content and we're going to set this to center. So now we've got it on the center axis. So now I'm going to go back over to my elements tab here. I'm going to put in header and text. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to click the plus sign inside the blue box and insert a new column, a container below the text that's in here. So now we've got a new container in here. I'm actually going to create more containers. So inside this container, I'm going to call it the, holding container, just so I know which one it is. I'm going to click on the edit arrow, pencil icon up here. I'm going to set it to horizontal and I'm going to leave everything else. And that's pretty much it at the moment. And then I'm going to come back over to the plus and I'm going to add in 3 new containers inside here. And then I'm going to come over to my first one and I'm going to label it first. We're going to label this one. We're just going to leave those last 2 actually. So now we've got our first container. I'm going to dive into the first container and I'm going to go back over to my elements. I'm going to drop in a picture and then I'm going to drop in a container. So now that I've got another container inside the container, this one's going to be the content. So we're going to call it content. Just so you know where you're kind of like heading down the structure, because it can get pretty full on. So now that we've done that, we're going to come back over to the elements and we're going to drop in another text box. And then we're going to actually click the plus sign again. So we're going to add a new container. So we'll hit that. We're going to click on the container that we've just added. We're going to set it to horizontal. Actually, we've got to make sure we're on the right container here. So the container that we've added, we're going to set horizontal and we're going to add another 2 containers. So we're going to call this one container, because it's getting pretty deep now with containers. You've got lots of containers going on. So in this first container, we're going to click elements again. I'm going to put 2 headers in the second container. So if you have trouble selecting it, you can come over to here. We're going to click elements again and we're going to drop in a picture. So now I've kind of got like my architecture, I suppose, going on. I've got a goal that I'm going to create from this. So what I'll do is I'll start at the top and I'll work my way down and I'll jump through each container, styling it up and yeah, just giving everything a bit of a facelift. So first things first, we'll jump up to the top here. I'm going to call this reviews and then I'm going to jump over the style tab. I'm going to set this to 65 and then I'm probably, just for the demo purposes, on the outer container, I'm just going to give myself some margins here just so it centers it up a little bit better. Just so I can see what I'm doing. You don't actually have to do this. Not actually needed. Okay. So first things, I'm going to close these up so I'm not overly confused. So we've put in our first header. Now I'm just going to grab some Lorem from the other page. Drop it into where this is here. This text. Go to content. Drop it in. Now I'm going to come down to the first holding container where it's holding our content. I'm going to go over to the style tab, layout, and we're going to put this at 50 margin from the top. So we want it to push down. We want all containers to come down. Now we're going to open that up. Just close all these up. So we're looking at the first container. So now we're inside our first container. We're going to put a 15 margin on it. We're going to link that. So now it's pushed everything in. It's got a 15. But we're going to unlink that now and we're going to delete out the left-hand side. So it's kind of like aligned. And you'll see why in a minute. Now, the first thing we'll jump in. We'll get this image done. So we'll go to content again. We're going to use Unsplash. So we'll click on Unsplash. I'm going to type in face just to bring up people's faces. Let's find one that looks cool. I don't think it really matters, but she's not bad looking, so we'll go with her. Oops, you got to enter a name. So we'll put in photo 03. Now it's downloading the image. Now, if it ever gets stuck in the constant load, okay, it didn't, just click off it like I did there, and it'll bring it up into your media library. Now, when you click on this image, you'll see how it's like 560 kilobytes. That's a lot. So what we're going to do is we're going to insert that. Now, we particularly don't want that image because it's way too big in size. So we're going to bring this down to thumbnail. So now it'll resize it back down to thumbnail. And then we're going to come across to the style tab. And we're going to come down to, well, let's go with the width here first. Let's go at 100. So the width of the image, it's going to bring it down even more. And we want to probably about 100 is probably good. Maybe 120 actually. Let's go a little bit bigger on this one. We can change it at the end anyway. So now we're going to come down to the borders. And we're going to put in a border area here. So we're going to put like 5 on the border. We're going to link that up so it's across. Then we're going to come over and put a solid. We're going to link that up again. I mean, not link it up. We're going to jump into the color. We're going to set that to white. So before, when I set the gray background, you'll now see that I've set this to white. So you can just see it. It's very subtle. Next, I'm going to come over to here and I'm going to link this all up. I'm going to put in 100. So it's all pretty much PX'd around it, but usually I'll set it to % just to be safe. Rightio, now our image is basically done. We will be coming back to that because we've got to do a few margins, but we're going to jump down to our first container here. So what we're going to do is we're going to come up to layout and I'm going to set the top margin to about, I'd say about 85. So it's come to, actually, no, we won't set that to 85. We've got to drop the padding in it, sorry. So the padding needs to be 85. And then we're going to put a 25 left to right and 25 on the bottom as well. So we're on our next container. So we'll come down to the background for that container and we're going to set that container to white. So it should look different to the background. You should be able to see it. Yeah, you can just see it's very subtle. And that's what we're going for here. Now, because I'm using a bit of a round corner here, sometimes I like to go in and just probably go into the border and put up the radius to about 15, just to give it a cut off those sharp edges. So we'll link that up. You can actually, it helps when you're on the right container. So we're just going to delete that off. I come down to this container where we're holding the content and we're going to put the border on that one. So I'm going to put, not the border, the radius. So we're just going to put a 15 radius. You can barely see it, but it's there. Now we're going to come back up to the photo. We're going to go to layout. We're going to go to the margins and we're going to put 25. And then I'm going to do minus probably 55 on this. And then I'm going to come all the way down here to the Z index and put that to 1. So now we've brought the image forward. So it's in front of that container that's actually below it. Okay, so now we've got that styled, the top part. The next part is kind of going to be like the, if you haven't gathered, this is kind of like a testimonial reviews. And what we're going to do is we're just going to put some more Laren Mispin text in here. Just to give it a bit more. Yep, cool. So it looks a bit better. And then the next thing we're going to do, now we've put that in. I should probably open this up. I'm going to close that. So we've been working on this one here. We're going to come down to the next container. So the one below the text. So this is going to be like the, I'd say the bottom content. And we're going to go over to style and we're going to go to layout and we're going to put a margin on the top of it of 25. So there's roughly, we'll probably fix this up here a little bit to bring it up to about 25. And we just want to keep the consistency of 25 throughout it. Now we're going to click on the text. I'm just going to quickly style this up because I don't think you need to be taught how to do the typograph on text. So I'm going to bring this down to 16. Now I'm going to set my default color to black and I'm probably just going to leave the fonts as they are. I am going to come into the transform and capitalize that. Then I'm going to actually put my name in here. And then I'm going to come down to the container below it, and I'm going to put in designer, like my role, and then I'm going to put in my business name. Oops. So now we've put that in, I'll come back over to style. I'll probably come into the typograph, and I'm going to put this one a little bit lower, and then I'll probably set it to black, but then I'll bring it back so it's not as potent. You could probably go down to 12 on that actually. Okay, bring it down to 12 and set the weight to about too little. 400 would do. Now we're going to come over to the image one. So we're now onto the next container where the image is. So I might call this like no, we'll just leave it as container. Now we're going to select image. If you don't have one already, just grab yourself some quotations off the internet. Mine's pretty large in size, so I'm just going to drop that in and bring that down to thumbnail. Let's see what it looks like at thumbnail. No, it's going to cut it off. I knew it would. So we're going to have to leave that at full. Actually, I wonder what 100 by 100. No, it's a WooCommerce one. Okay, so we'll leave it at full. We'll come over to the style tab, go to layout. We want it to float all the way to the end, so the alignment end. So we'll be on this side, the right hand side, sorry. And then we want to put this to about 100, I'd say. No, we'll go down to about 80 actually. 80, and then I'm going to come down to the opacity, and I'm going to put this at 0.5. So it grades it out a little bit. You could probably go down a little bit more or bring it up. And I'm going to actually bring this down more to about 60 actually. Okay, so just created pretty much my first testimonial card. So you've got a lot going on in here, but what we're going to do is we're just going to fix up this margin here. So you can bring it up through here. So I know that's 55. Half of 55 is what? 26. Oh, I don't know if it's going to be good enough for 26. Yeah, I can't be bothered working this all out. So that looks about right, to be honest. You could work it all out if you wanted to. And then the next step, what I do is I'm going to cascade everything back to holding. I'm going to reopen holding and go back to first, sorry. And then I'm going to delete out the other two containers. I'm going to copy. Then we're going to close that again. We're going to label this one second. And then we're going to clone. Has to be words. I can't put it. And then we'll come down to this one here. I'll close that up again, and we're going to put like a third. Okay, so now the image is there, so don't worry. It's just for some reason a little bit glitchy. So I'm just going to save that, and I'm just going to refresh it. There we go. So it's got the images. I might actually just come in here and change these images into the other two people I've got here. Now, this is the notorious testimonial chick. I swear you see her on every testimonial demo you'll ever see. So now we've created kind of like a stagnant, static like testimonial. If anything, I'd probably, in design purposes, bring this all the way back to about here. And just put your dots in there. So it's a little bit more fluent, looks a little bit better. And you want to do this for all testimonials. Keep them the same length. Don't make one that's really long and one that's really short. It just looks really bad. You might, yeah. So now that's pretty much the breakdown of containers. So I'll just save it again, and I'll open it up on the preview mode so you can actually see it. As you can see, you can break down the containers pretty in depth. You can go down pretty fast. So we've got an outer container, then we've got another inner container, then we've got another inner container, then another one, and then another two inside that container. It goes down pretty deep, and you don't have to worry about too much in terms of like the settings on it. So for something like this one here, I wouldn't even bother setting it unless you really, really wanted to. So if anything, I might, on the bottom container here, is set the center, I think it's, which axis? Yep, this one here. The align cross axis. We'll pull this down a little bit so it will center it up with the image a little bit better. That's probably the only thing I would do. And maybe just align things to the start. Whereas this one doesn't have to worry about it because it's the image, we got it to the other side. So that's basically it. If you have any questions or anything like that, feel free to ask in the Bricks community. And yeah, I'll try and get back to you. Thanks very much for watching and have a good day.